All right, sister, get over here. There you go. Thank you.
And I think we're live. I don't know.
Let's see the live
Yeah, I think
icon.
so.
Oh, yeah, it's going now. Well, hello, everybody. This is my very first show on YouTube. I've never done this before, and I don't have an introduction yet or a banner or anything like that, but I will here soon. Uh, so you will see this is Misty with me. I commonly refer to her as Squirrel. And this is Mark and Rebecca Green from down in Alabama. Now, whenever I get to go on and actually have, the banner and like the introduction and all that, y'all will quickly find out that this is not about just straight Bigfoot. We're going to talk about all kinds of other stuff, including barbecue and bushcraft, camping, hunting, fishing, everything like that. Because in my humble opinion, you need more to talk about than just that. There's a lot more that connects all of us that are in this field than just Bigfoot. And also, it should be said right off the get-go that I'm probably going to slip and not be politically correct or
Oh, yeah.
speak perfectly the right way all the time. Anyway, Misty over there, don't expect her to say much because, oh, wait, I'm on a camera. It's got to go that way. Don't expect her to say much. She's a nervous little critter, part of the reason why we call her Squirrel. And a lot of the guests that I'm going to be bringing on, they are fairly known in the Bigfoot world. I'm sure some of them won't be. Go Squirrel. And let me see if I can highlight this. Hold on one second. Look at it. That's all you got to do. All right. That's good. Good. Thank you, JR. Anyway, a lot of the people that I'm going to be talking to, we're going to go into these shows assuming we're not trying to prove Bigfoot. If you believe Bigfoot exists, that's great. If you don't, there are other shows that are trying to convince you. I am trying to drill down on specific things and ask them questions that I want to know the answers to. Maybe you will too. I would really like it if people comment and ask questions. If you do, put them all in caps, please, so that I can see it more plainly. And we're going to get right into this. Mark has been on the Sawdust Beast channel before. He was also on Chris Reinhardt's show. That's how I got to meeting him and talking to him and everything. And he's been in this field for quite a while. And I'll let him introduce himself and his wife, and we can go from there. Mark, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Mark Green, and this is my wife, Rebecca. We live outside of a little town called Sylacauga, Alabama. Home of Jim Neighbors, or only person ever hit by a meteorite in recorded history. So it's kind of a weird place, plus the largest marble quarries in the world. Right at the end of the Appalachians, kind of where it ends and starts getting into just hilly land and then going into the coastal plain. Me and her have a homestead. I grew up farming and hunting and fishing and trapping. She grew up some around farming and homesteading, and then
More homesteading than farming.
Yeah, a little more homesteading than straight farming. But that's kind of where we. I do have a public job, work as a maintenance man in one of the auto manufacturing plants. But and she just went to work for a well-known company as in their greenhouses. So it's a little bit about us. But then got into Bigfoot in 2007 when I first seen my first one down on the Alabama River, and from there on, it's been a different ball game. Rebecca hasn't seen one yet, but she has had some encounters. She did probably see one night, but it was kind of looked more like a cloud to her. But there was three rest of us could see it. She just seen a cloud, so I don't know what's going on there with her. if she's seeing it different than we are. So I don't really know on that one. But that's just getting started. It takes a year to tell her everything, but every day. But that's it. Far as who we are and what we're doing and everything. So,
just right off the get-go, while I'm thinking about it, because you just brought it up, Rebecca, if you don't mind, let me ask you a question. Do you think that it's possible that certain people are just more sensitive in different ways to different types of things? You do? Do you think that would explain why maybe you kind of saw, because other people saw this thing, but you saw it in a different aspect, a different way? Do you think that contributed to it?
See, I can feel that they're there where other people may not can. I don't know if it's, what was that?
that was her asking.
Oh, I don't know if it's, yeah, she startled me. She hadn't spoke. I don't know if it's, that it's, they're cloaking and what'd she say?
Oh, geez. You mean her?
We don't know. It doesn't really matter if you've listened to her long enough. Carry on.
I don't know if it's their cloaking until they know how I'm going to react to seeing one. I don't know if it's I just don't perceive them the same as everybody else because I can feel them. I don't know, but there are definitely different degrees in how people see and feel.
Have you ever seen anything else that was different, unusual like that?
I see ghosts.
Okay. What do they look like?
It depends on what the ghost wants to look like. Some of them appears out of the corner of your eye figure of light. Some of them, we have a ghost here, the previous owner. He's a tall, skinny man. I mean, he looks like a tall, skinny, older man. So some of them you can't really make out much other than a little haze. Some of them you can almost see the person there. It's weird. And sometimes I just wonder if it's what they want you to see.
Yeah. I mean, there's no denying that people in the Bigfoot world, they go in different camps. Some people are all flesh and blood. Some people seem to be more woo. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. They just seem to be, they lean that way. Me personally, I tend to approach everything from a flesh and blood point of view because in my mind, and that's subject to change at any time, but in my mind, I think you have to start somewhere. Most people go out in the woods and they're looking for tracks, structure, audibly being able to hear calls or knocks, stuff like that. So I tend to approach it that way, but I'm also not ruling anything out. Now, I mean, some of the stuff I've heard is
it's out there.
I don't know if it's out there, but it's hard for me to process it and understand it. And I think that all of us need to approach it more open-minded, but to each their own. Squirrel, have you ever seen a ghost?
Yes, sir. I agree with her 100% everything she just said. I mean, you can, maybe you can't, but I'm the same way. I can feel when there's something around. I can feel if it's trying to hurt you, or if sometimes you can just feel something there, but you don't feel threatened or feel afraid from it. But there's something there.
It's there.
Yeah, just like the picture that Mark caught that night. I could feel there was something around us, and I said, "Take a picture behind me," and there was almost like a light rod or something in the photo. But it's just a feeling you get. I agree with her.
Well, I mean, it's not too much of a stretch to talk about boogers giving off a feeling so strong that people pick up on it. Because, I mean, you hear so many people talk about they have an intense feeling of being watched or dread or something like that. It's something is affecting them on a mental or emotional level or whatnot, so that's, I mean, maybe it's part of it. Who knows? I've felt nervous before, and I've felt at times almost like I was being watched, but not to the degree that a lot of people describe it. But again, that could just be me. It could just be that, I'm an idiot and I'm a redneck and I'm not sensitive to all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Maybe I eat too much red meat. I don't know what it is.
Is that a problem? Red meat?
Not for me, but but then again, I've never seen a booger eye to eye, so I don't know.
No, trust answer, because if you're feeling something, there's a reason you're feeling that way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, I mean, we're only less than 1,000 years removed from whenever we lived in the woods. So I mean, there has to be some of those basic instincts still in us on a survival level. At least I would think that, but anybody's guess.
Well, I'm going to tell you too, and I don't know if Rebecca feels the same way, but you also, how do I explain this? If you won't let yourself kind of be open to stuff, you're not gonna receive stuff as much as somebody that's as open to it. If you had more of an open mind about stuff, you wouldn't believe how much more that you would actually feel and see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe that's part of my problem. Maybe I approach it too much from a, normal, mundane kind of point of view.
That science point.
Yeah. Well, I'm typically a very serious person. If you didn't know, I mean, I'm always extremely serious. Right now, I'm gonna be serious about some other stuff. Now, before we get going into what's happening right now, because Mark, if you don't mind, I would like you to talk about like when was the last show you did? It was just a week or so ago for Kyle, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it was Friday is a week ago.
Right. But before that, on some of the shows you've been on, you've been talking about your past experiences, and you've got so much to pull from in there that that takes up a lot of time and everything. But you've actually had stuff happening here lately, and you've described it on your channel, and I'll try to put a link. Mark and Rebecca had their own channel where they cover farmsteading, and they cover a lot of stuff involved in the whole aspect of living off the land and cooking, and not really prepping or anything, but they're living more independently than a lot of people.
Trying to be self-sufficient.
Yeah. What's the name of y'all's channel again?
Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead Life.
I knew that. I just wanted you to say it. It sounds like I'm watching one of the YouTube videos whenever you say it like that. I'll put a link in as soon as I figure out how to do that and everything. But they have a great channel. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from Rebecca about canning and planting different aspects. And then talking to Mark, I've personally talked to Mark quite a bit, and he's taught me a couple things where I was looking for a tractor and all kinds of stuff like that. But it's a really good channel, y'all. It's loaded with information. If you're into any aspect of this stuff, you should absolutely check it out. Highly recommend it. In fact, Rebecca, just so you know, I made some of the I had a friend give me one of the cheesecake things in a jar, and then I looked up the recipe and made a couple of them, and that's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yes, ma'am, it is. I'd like to get some of the sourdough starter thing and start making some of that. I saw you do a couple things with that looked interesting to me.
Yep.
But you guys have actually had some stuff going on here lately. You want to rewind and go back to whenever you first started noticing some of this stuff happening, like around your house?
We noticed things a little bit here and there, and then it seemed like it jumped a little bit. In other words, it went to another level.
Well, when we first moved in, you could feel, I mean, even Mark felt something in the woods. We had a tree come down or something. I can't remember that back when we first moved in that a little tree. You don't remember that? I told you about it falling in the woods or something when there was no wind.
You may have, babe.
Or a tree broke or something. And then we would find like footprints in different areas behind like things that you wouldn't be able to see from the house, you know.
In other words, like it's getting in behind a spot where you can look at the house.
Like behind the shop without being seen, or, you know, behind a bush. We found a couple of places where they obviously stood and watched in the woods. Footprints around the pond, footprints in the garden. That tree that was drug, remember that?
Yeah.
There was a tree that was drugged back into the woods or something. And I asked Mark if he moved it, and he said no. And we got to looking at it. There was no way that any of us would have moved it or something. I can't remember. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of little things to start with.
And then it kind of started, I guess you'd say, escalating a little more. One night, one of my cousins happened to be over, and we was standing in the driveway talking. She was fixing to leave, and from down there behind the house just come this big, and I mean, it rattled this place, and and you could tell it was moving through the woods, and it was moving quick.
Well, hello, sister.
Of course, my cousin looked at me and she said, that ain't what I thought it just was it? And I said, well, it kind of sounded like that, sister. Sister, quit. She's wanting petting. And then she told me then that she'd heard it over at her house, and she lives right at the foot of the hunting club. In fact, hunting club's probably 1/8 of a mile from her house. She had heard stuff over there back up toward the mountain. And then, like Rebecca said, we started finding just like we had little tracks, little small footprints around the pond one time. You know, probably in the 4-inch range, maybe
6.
Yeah. This was in middle of winter time. We didn't have nobody over here with kids fishing at that time. I mean, this is probably January. Then Rebecca started having things happen at night. She started hearing things around the house. Movement. One night, front door got fooled with her sitting here in the living room. Of course, this little dog went crazy when that happened. I know this is going to sound.
Slammed.
Yeah, and the back door got slammed one night. No wind. Then the solar lights getting turned off. I know that sounds crazy, but I found our solar lights, the little button would be flipped off.
And we can't reach them. You have to have a ladder to reach them.
Yeah, they're about 10 foot off the ground. Thumbprint on the little window unit at the bedroom.
Fence. It broke. It bent the fence down with a thumb.
So just then one of my neighbors called.
You heard the gate rattle.
Well, I've heard the gate rattle. Yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff I can't keep up with it. But neighbor that lives through the woods about a half a mile from us. I've been knowing her a good bit. Been knowing her probably for the last 20-something years. She used to live by my mother right over the mountain from us, and she had moved over here. She knew that, you know, I'd done Bigfoot research. A lot of people, once Finding Bigfoot come out in 2013, that kind of, a lot of folks figured out who I was on some of that stuff. And but she called me and she started asking me questions and told me what was going on over at her house. And they were finding footprints, and they were finding, hearing things, and just
dogs getting turned loose.
Yeah, dogs getting turned loose. she put out a bunch of musky dimes.
Well, she didn't put out, she threw out.
Well, she threw them out. She didn't put them out to bait. She just threw them out. Come back a few days later, and every one of the musky dimes, just like something picked them up, mashed the meat out of it, and threw the hull on the ground. I don't know if a coon or squirrel or anything eating, like, they'd ate the whole thing. This ate it like a human, or like we would. And then, of course, the kicker was the evening me and her, she was putting up her shooting house. I was putting up our little deer feeder down there by the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And I just got the sneaky feeling something was staring at me. When I wheeled around real quick and looked toward that opening in the woods, I seen him just like that. He went in behind the privets. So he was sitting there staring at me. He's black looking. Probably 6, 7 foot tall, how big he is, or how tall he is. What else have I? Oh, here's a good kicker. Her car.
Oh,
I'll go ahead and get started on this weird one here.
Let me say, I've seen the pictures of this. I wish it's my first show. I'm just getting used to using StreamYard. I wish I had the ability to throw this stuff up there, but I don't really know how to do it yet. We'll get them back on here, and I'll go through this because I've seen the thumbprint in the AC. I've seen what he's getting ready to talk about. I've seen pictures of some of the tracks there on the land. And I'm going to tell you what he's getting ready to discuss, the picture of the handprint in her car. It looks legit. I don't know any other way to theorize what it could be.
It even has fingerprints.
Yeah, it does. Go ahead and describe it. But I've seen the pictures. I wish that y'all could. At some point, I'll be able to throw them up so that you could see it. But sorry, that's my disclaimer. Go ahead.
Trying to research them, but I definitely do not want anything following me. I've been watching me.
Well, one problem is we still live within 2 miles of the hunting club. I've lived around this hunting club my whole life. I've lived on the south side, and now I kind of live on the east side of it. And
they follow him.
Everywhere I've lived since 2007, they have showed up sooner or later. I hate to say that, but they do follow you. So far, nothing really bad happens. Not going to say down the road something might not change. But with her car, I work straight midnight shift. And so I usually get home typically, 7:15, 7:30 in the mornings from work. And okay. Anyway, I had a big racket just happened toward the back door now, probably a cat. But I come home one morning and her car lights are on. And I'm like, well, I guess she forgot and left her car lights on. So I reached in the car, turned them off, went on in the house, mentioned it to her. She said, well, I didn't leave them car lights on. A couple of days later, same thing again. I come in, I find her car lights on. Turn them off again. This was probably
Several times.
How many days after that's when you called me with the picture? Well, I don't know if it was like a few days later or maybe a week later. She was heading to work. Of course, the sun was just coming up, and she was heading directly into the sun. And you've seen the picture, Spencer. I don't know if Misty has or not, but there's this big handprint kind of in the car, kind of funny acting, inside the car.
Inside.
On the window?
Inside on the middle of the front windshield. Almost under the mirror.
And when I put my hand up against it, it's of course bigger than my hand.
And you have to reach all the way in there.
Yeah.
To get your hand. I mean, it's like this. I mean,
it's like something opened the door. I don't know if it was trying to get something. Maybe there was something on the windshield or what it was doing, and left its handprint there. And I mean, it's that old greasy look. And
And we left it.
We left it.
I never cleaned it.
Did you have something hanging from the rearview mirror?
Not that I remember.
Yeah, I don't remember nothing.
Hold
Not
on.
that I remember. Because I didn't have to have parking passes or anything like that. So I don't remember having anything there.
Yeah.
But when the sun hit that, I called him and I looked over towards the passenger side, and the passenger window had like feather marks all over it.
What looked like feather?
Yeah, feather, fur. I mean, take your pick. It's something had just brushed all over the passenger side window too.
Yeah, well,
And we did not have sister then.
yeah, if it was red or greasy, I mean, anything, if it's fur rubbed up against it, it would make it streaked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
If
If there was a way I could leave this up, I see your comment there, Lake Ferry Preparedness. Thank you very much for that. I did not know that. I have it on my phone, and it's linked to my PC, but I don't know how to get in there and like have it ready to go and everything. It's not saved to my pictures. It's just still in the email. But thank you very much for pointing that out, and I'll keep that in mind next time and have everything ready for that. Again, my apologies on it, but yeah, the picture, the mark is greasy and it's big. I mean, it's
Complete
bigger
with
than my
claw.
hand. Yeah.
It looked like on the end, it looked like maybe either claws or real long fingernails.
Mhm.
You could see that. Of course, I told her to start keeping the car locked. Of course, when we were down there, it quit. Here just a few weeks ago on my other truck, I got an old truck. I just happened to look at it. My light shined on. I was out feeding animals or whatever. We have these little headlamps sometimes we wear. And I keep that truck parked down by my shop, and I just happened to walk by it. And on the driver's window right there, close to where my side mirror is, there were smudges all there. It's just kind of weird. I'm not going to say it was, Bigfoot, but it was kind of
It's smudged for some
It's
reason.
kind of in a weird spot. That was just kind of strange. Had that greasy look to it. Almost like something was putting its tongue on it, but I mean, I ain't gonna say that. But it had that. I don't know. Did I send you that picture too?
I don't know if you sent me that one. The car windshield one struck me. I don't know if you sent me the one on your truck. Have you ever found any markings like that on the windows of your home?
Hadn't looked.
Well,
I have not looked. I wouldn't have looked inside the car if the sun hadn't hit it right.
you couldn't see it unless the sun or a light was hitting a certain angle. Haven't really looked at the windows real well. Most of them have screens over them. There's one screen that is kind of like something put its fingers on it one time, maybe mashed in, but it's, some of that's just hard to say. But, just like the little window unit, it's 6 foot off the ground?
At least.
And whatever.
It's taller than my head.
Yeah, it's taller. And it's right there where one of the spotlights got turned off, one of the motion lights.
That's interesting.
And you could see where something had stood right there in that spot. I mean, that dog several times has just all of a sudden come ballistic, start barking at that window.
Specifically, not last night, but the night before. Mark was at work and she was at the foot of the bed staring at that window and just set off barking. And what was really weird for that night was she actually stepped over me and went to the other side where the other window is and started barking and growling at that window too.
Like she
it's
was
like
here.
it come across the road to that window where the AC unit is and went around the corner of the house to there. Wild. I know. I wasn't getting up to look outside. I just wasn't. When the dog growls, I don't get up.
How many do you think maybe you guys have there?
I know at least of a couple because of what my neighbor said. And then hearing every now and then the wood knocks, I'm going to say at least a couple. And I don't know if these are coming off the hunting club or they're coming from a different direction, or if they've always lived here and they've making themselves known.
I think we have young ones.
I think they're probably juveniles. I'm thinking that. And it may be one that was run off the hunting club to look for a mate. They may have ran him off. I don't know. It's just hard to say on that. But I know at least two, because that one track was finding a little track.
And then they're playing in the lime pile.
Yeah, playing in the lime pile. I know you've
Just
seen
like
that.
kids.
I know you've seen that, Spencer.
Big old butt print in the top of the lime pile.
yeah. But
now that's on your channel, isn't it? The picture of the footprint in the lime pile.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, that and where it sit down in the lime pile. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's on your channel, as well as, didn't you find one out in the garden in the mud, Rebecca?
Yeah.
And that's on the channel.
Out in the watermelon or corn or something.
Out around where the
Okra.
watermelon okra patch was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found it and called him over because we were both out there.
Yeah.
And he found me some watermelons.
Do they take from your garden?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Left a hole.
Yeah, some of the watermelons were gone. You could tell where the watermelon had been sitting. And I don't think I have any kids that live close enough by that would be over here,
There's not any.
Snatching watermelons like we would have when I was a kid, but, go buy somebody's watermelon patch. But now they done the same thing to me when I was living on the south side of the club. In fact, I lived closer to the club I was probably 1/8 of a mile from the club border. And when they started coming to my house down there, they were getting into my watermelons. And of course, they were, my sister-in-law was the first one to alert me to it. I was at work one night and she called me. She was babysitting for us. And she called me and she said, why is there apes in your pasture? I said, what? She hung her phone out the door, and then they were whooping out there, and they was growling. I don't know what all was going on. I had my horses upset. My horses had come the closest to the house that they could get, and they done put their butts up to the fence toward the house, and she said their ears were straight up, and she said all my hunting dogs were just quiet. I had two that run loose. I had an old bird dog and an Irish setter that I let run loose. Both of them, she said, were up against the porch as far as they could get, and they was just not saying a word. And that's when I figured out they were coming to my house over there then. But never fooled with nothing as far as hurting anything. Left me some dead squirrels hanging on the tree, on the fence. I'd find squirrels where like something took that squirrel and just broke it. Leave it right there at my gate, laying on the top strand of the fence.
Were they twisted or just like broken in half?
Like it just broke.
That's amazing.
Yeah. They moved my trailer around a bunch of times. I had a big old 16-foot equipment trailer. We lost Misty for a minute, but
sorry, guys.
it was okay. But moved that not the horse trailer, moved the big equipment trailer around a lot. I couldn't pick that trailer up and move it. First, I thought my horses were doing it. I thought maybe they were putting their feet on the back end of it, lifting the tongue, and the trailer would start rolling. In fact, me and Mr. Tall Banco got a laugh out of that when I told him, it may have been the horses doing it. He said, them horses ain't doing that. He said, how long you had them horses? I said, 7, 8 years. He said, have they ever done it before? I said, no. He said, why would they start that now? So, and that was during the same time period that, the squirrels were showing up at the house, even my wife then hearing them at night. Dogs would keep their mouth shut, just you could tell when something would show up, it would get quieter. And then at the same time, neighbors were talking about the peeping Toms. So, I think they were visiting other people too. And a lot of people thought it was just a peeping Tom. And I think the whole time it was them, peeping in people's windows and getting everything stirred up in that little neighborhood down there. But it was interesting.
Speaking of the,
daughter tried to call, and when I tried to hit the phone call, I moved the thing. I'm listening to you guys. I just hate I'm moving the camera. I'm sorry.
Oh, you fine?
we're watching. We're watching. Leave the phone. The camera is fine.
I'm afraid it's gonna fall. Okay. No, she tried to call and I declined it and hit the phone.
This is why I have Misty on here to help me concentrate on things like whether or not her camera is focused properly.
No, I can't. I have glasses back on. I can't see. Okay.
Let me ask you a question. If you were talking like percentage wise, you hear a lot of stories about boogers coming up to someone's house. And in my mind, it always sticks out how a lot of times it's when the male figure isn't there. If there is a male figure at the house, they seem to make themselves known a lot whenever that guy is away for work or whatever reason, and he's not there. Rebecca, do you feel like they're actually, like they know whenever you're there alone?
They know. They watch him leave.
Yeah.
The other night when I was telling you about it, walking around the corner of the house, Mark really threw him a curve because when he goes to work, he comes back at 6:30. Well, he came back at 3:30 that morning. They know.
Yeah.
They watch him leave.
Even with my first wife, and when my kids were little, and I still was working night shift, she said it seemed like the activity would, pick up when I wasn't there. Same way with her.
And I think it's got to do with the male having that alpha feel to him.
And my neighbor across the road, same thing with her. When her husband likes on second shift, she notices more going on around her house. And when he gets home, it kind of quietens down.
Yeah.
Right.
Like other day, I told about 2 encounters from the hunting club on Friday's fireside chat about 2 ladies on the hunting club that had, encounters back. This was probably 2010, 11 in that area where that took place. And it seemed like those boogers focused in on those 2 women. Now, this was 2 different separate times, 2 miles apart on the club. The club is 9 miles across in one place. So, there's a good bit of room there. So they were about 2 miles apart, had the same similar encounter. Now, one lady didn't see it, but she got to growling and walking parallel with her in the woods. And the other lady, got to put her eyes on it. It stepped out on the edge of the field and squatted, sat there and watched her. And then, of course, there was another one, I think, trying to ease up behind her, and she caught it, heard the bipedal movement. So there's 2 ladies that were, hunting, that they come right up on top of her. That one where she didn't see it, but it did walk up behind her shooting blind, and it actually pushed in, that blind she was sitting in. That's when it scared her half to death. And, she spoke and told, first she thought she was still talking to a person. And, that's when she said, "I got a rifle and I will shoot you." And that's when she heard it turn and run off and jumped in the woods. And she come on out of the shooting house, but she never seen it. She just heard all of it, and heard the growling and the breaking limbs as it paralleled her all the way back to the clubhouse. She had done called her husband. He was on the other part of the club on a 4-wheeler hunting, and he told her, he said, "Just get to the clubhouse. I'm on the way." And he said, "If it tries to come out on you, put a bullet in it." That's the only thing he knew to tell her, till he could get there. And it was right there close to where the Sentry stays I've told you about.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it was old Sentry and he was playing around or what he was doing. I mean, I have no idea what he was up to that day. Just like the one that stepped out on that other woman in the field. This one done it in broad daylight, like it was using itself as a what would you say? Call it
like a decoy or something.
The decoy. There you go. And for the other one maybe to come up closer. I don't know. And then she called it. She heard
Which is what happened that night I saw the fog.
Huh?
That's what happened that night at the fog. Remember?
Yeah.
It was the decoy over here, so this one could get closer.
That's true. Yeah, because we did have some stuff on both sides going on that night. That was an outing that Jonathan Odom and Mr. Terry and
distraction. That's the better word.
Yeah, distraction. Who else? I can't remember that other fellow that was there. I'll think of it in a minute. But
thank you, Leanne.
But
it makes you wonder, though. I mean, these things spend so much time staying hidden. I mean, they hide at night. They spend so much time being clandestine in their movements and everything, and then you have stuff like this where they actually come up to the blind and touch the blind, or they come up to your house and smack the side of the house. And it makes you wonder, is it juveniles? Are they trying to get you to come outside? It's a duality in their nature, the way that they behave sometimes.
right.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't know that any of us know. So it's curious.
No, that's a good question. I've often wondered what those two were doing when they was messing with those two women that day. And I've always noticed it, and y'all know it too. I always get a lot better activity when I carry women with me. If we go research an area, or just go up to the club and sit at the lake. If there's women with us, we're gonna have more activity. If it's just us men, it seems like it's not as strong. Me and Keith had a lot of strong activity, just me and him, when we first started. But when we started carrying out his wife, or we had other researcher ladies come in with us, or, different people come that had women with them, but it just seemed like it escalated, don't know why,
My most noticeable encounter, possible encounter, thing that happened that convinced me there was something there. There were women with us that time, and Debbie Jones was one of them, and she's part of Sisters of the Moon, and that's a all-female group that goes out, and some of the activity that they have is amazing. It's impressive. So I really do think, I don't know why, but I really do think that women, for whatever reason, women being part of the equation has a big effect on how pronounced they are, how much they show themselves, and everything.
Kids too.
I can believe it.
Too. Children. When my children used to go with me some on the club, it seemed like activity would increase with them too. And in fact, my daughters, I think at the time she was pretty young. She was 8, 9 years old. I don't know if it's something she's kind of just blanked out of her mind. But I know one night I was pulling back up to the gate on the hunting club after we coon hunted that night, and she told me I done passed the spot, and she said, "Daddy, somebody was standing there in the woods looking at us when we went by." I said, "What do you mean somebody was standing there looking at us?" She said, "Somebody's standing back up about 5 foot off the road by a tree." Of course, I backed up real quick and threw my light over back in, and she probably knows a lot of us coon hunters have those night lights and some of the other, Cajun lights, all those, put out a lot of light. And you can light the world up with them things. And of course, you can't burn them for a long time. You have to, most time, burn them on low power. But when you get to the tree, of course, you turn them up, bright where you can. So I turned that thing on. I don't forget how many candlelight power that thing was back in. But it light the world up, and I couldn't see nothing. And but she seen something standing there, and I'm assuming probably when I threw my brakes on, it said, "Uh-oh," so it probably took off, And there's one other night she was with us when one approached the truck, and I got real nervous because I had my hunter's ears on, and I could hear him creeping up. I could hear him. I went ahead and put her in the truck because I just didn't feel right about it. And I had another couple with us, and this one actually stood up on the other side of the truck on us. and that's the big boy I've told you about before. There's a big one up there. He's probably in that 8-9 foot range, and he stood up on the other side of the truck, and I could see his silhouette. I could see his eyes. They were reflecting off the moon that night. So something was telling me while I was listening to all this creeping going on, because them hunter ears, if y'all can get you a pair, you can't beat them things. Mine were the muffle type, the headset type.
Yeah.
The only bad thing I noticed about them things is you can't sometimes tell where the direction's coming from, because it amplifies everything so much. It's and that's why a lot of times I'd reach up and turn one off to see if I could hear that sound more that way. And that's how I used to, pinpoint sounds more with them. But I listened to that thing creep up right there on top of us, and was it there because of my daughter? Was there just checking us out? I have no idea. So that, and other times we've had camp outs, we've had kids with us. We've had seem like more action. We had someone behind us one night talking up in the woods. They jibber jabbered. I call it jibber jabber. They sat up there for 30 minutes behind us. I wish I'd had a recorder back then with me, because I would probably got some very good audio. But they done that for probably 30 minutes back there behind us. Because I had daughter and my son in one tent, and my friend had his daughter in one tent, and that whole night you could hear stuff walking around, and so I definitely think they came in closer with them kids with us.
I think they're curious, and kids are innocent by nature, so they don't feel threatened by, I don't think, women or children.
True.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I lean too. Yeah. Did you, whenever you were camping and you actually heard them speaking, can you describe it at all? Did it sound like some of the Sierra sound? Did it sound like the samurai chatter? Did it sound like a language?
It sounded more. Did you hear that audio that me and Keith caught that time? You've heard it, Spencer.
Yep.
Similar tone, that but you could tell they're making the syllables, because you could tell the difference in the two of them too. One of them was a little deeper than the other one, so you could hear this. I just call it jibber jabber because that's what it sounds like. But you could hear syllables in it, but one was a lot deeper than the other one. So I don't know if the other one was a female or a younger male. This just went on for at least 30 minutes. If we'd had a recorder, we'd had 30 minutes of them just
30 minutes. Wow.
This went on for 30 minutes behind us. I lay there in a sleeping bag listening to it the whole time. And my daughter remembers it just as well, because she said, "Daddy, what is that behind us talking?" I said, "You know what it is." And this went on. There's probably 30, 40 foot behind us up in the woods. And they just went on for 30. My buddy heard it. He's sitting over there listening to it. In fact, he said, "Mark, is that what I think I'm hearing?" I said, "Yep." So I said, "That's what you're hearing, Bubba." So that's what I was referring to one time when I said something. If me and Keith would have had back then what people got now, I don't know what me and him would have had on audio and film. I mean, we would have had it. I hate to say it. I mean, we would have had a lot of stuff. Now, of course, nobody probably believe it, but we would have had some good stuff, Yeah. I mean, we got some good things, but if we'd had the equipment and the money to buy it back then, I had 2 kids in school and paying for a house, and I didn't have extra money to go buy. And back then, the equipment was high. A thermal back then was $7,000-8,000, and a good recorder back then, they were, everything's got a lot cheaper now. I think back in, I remember recorders were a couple of $100 then, and now you can buy them for $30. But, so I wish I had put some money in it back then and really, recorded a lot. Now, my friend Adam, done a lot of recording, and he's got some good stuff. I want to get him on our channel. He's just hard to catch up with right now because he may be moving to Tennessee, and two, I think he's wanting to back off the Bigfoot stuff. I think some things happened that kind of bothered him.
That's understandable.
Yeah. So I don't think he even goes researching anymore. And he almost like sometimes he don't even want to talk about it no more. So I don't know, But
here lately on a couple of the episodes on your channel on the fireside or Friday fireside chat things, you've had some disruptions with the electronics on your phone and camera and everything. Number one, I would say, first of all, anybody that pays attention in the Bigfoot field, they're used to hearing that about electrical interference. So it's not like it's a new thing, but you've actually had it happen a couple times, recording there on that specific part of your property where you had the sighting, where you had the one show itself. And then I talked to you and we thought about maybe setting out a battery, and you've been testing that. You've gotten some results with that and everything. Whenever you talk about like electrical interference, you talk about possibly being able to feel them, or them giving off a feeling or whatnot, their ability to sneak up on you, all this kind of stuff. Does any of it raise the hair on your neck and make you think that there's something more going on than just the flesh and blood part? I mean, what do you think? Is it something spookier than just a type of animal running around the woods? Is there a creep factor involved in all this?
Yes, I think there's more to it than just flesh and blood.
I think they're flesh and blood, but they have more to it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what we're saying.
Right.
When I first seen the first booger I seen, and then when me and Keith, along with Mr. Towle and other researchers, Pat, Lori, I mean, all these different people's been here over the years. I was flesh and blood on it. I thought this was some kind of creature that lived in the woods that was very, very good at hiding, very good at getting around without getting caught. And then later down the road, I started listening to some of my friends that I actually were on outings with, not, through listening to Bigfoot shows and stuff, but actually talking to people, the stuff they were witnessing. To me, these were very truthful people that I had a lot of trust in, and so far I still have real good trust in them. I've never seen them say or do anything out of the ordinary that would cause me to look the other way. The portal thing, I know two people that was on our hunting club said this portal thing showed up one time with them standing in that field where that one walked out and stood in the field and looked at the woman.
Really?
They described it as a circular looking thing with like water running through it. I have not seen that myself now. I can't, but I was there that night it took place, but I was not in that field with them. I was out in the road. Because what we would do a lot of times, instead of a bunch of us walking in a place, one or two of us would walk in there, usually two, and the others would maybe stay in the road. That way we would see if more interaction would happen with those two people. Both of them come out physically shook up, white as a sheet. One of them couldn't even talk for a few minutes. I mean, they were like they had lost their voice. Finally, when composure come back, they described to us what they just saw. And then with Adam recording on the hunting club, some of the stuff that he recorded, like with me pulling up one night, getting out of the truck, and one of them goes, Marco, just like that.
Yeah.
The other talk that we heard, it sounded like English. Now, it could have been paranormal. I have no idea. We know there's paranormal on that club, too. We've had some ghost hunters up there, and they said that place had a strong vibe to it. But so between the portal, Rebecca seeing the cloud, but me and the other one seeing the figure, listening to other people's experiences that I know, that I know personally, that's when I said there is more to them. It's got to be, because these people can't be making this up. And then you talking about Mr. Tall, same one time, it just disappeared. And I'm gonna tell you, you couldn't get much straight of a guy than him. I mean, he just that's just him. He didn't fool around with no BS. So then with here, with her phone one day messing up, that had a lot of battery power in it when I started filming, and her phone doesn't use battery power up fast. I probably didn't film but 30 minutes, and it drained that phone just like it from.
To tell you how fast my phone drains battery, I let him use my phone for a video with what's his name?
Kenny Cat.
Kenny, and it had like 30% battery strength, and that was it. And when they got finished, I still had like 15% left. So that whole filming didn't even drain the phone, but the one that he's talking about drained it.
Yeah, it just went. All of a sudden, it just shut off, no power, and I'm like, this thing had plenty of battery power, and I didn't film but 30 minutes.
I need to put a disclaimer in there. That video where he talks about the phone just shutting off, and then there's a glitch element in there. I put that glitch in there. The glitch is not in the film.
Oh, okay.
It just shut off. Everybody thinks that the glitch is the problem. I added that to blend the two pieces together.
Oh, I'm glad you clarified that, because I was watching the video going, look, there's something going on right now.
It just shut off.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot of comments on that.
But because of that, though, because of the phone shutting off and because of draining, that's why I was thinking maybe we could test like a battery there at your area. And Mark has actually set out a battery and monitored it fairly regularly. What'd you get the first time you set the battery out in the field? Now, he set the battery out in the field near the spot where they had the phone shut off and the battery drainage, and near where they actually saw the potential booger right there on their property. You set it out right there in that area, right?
Yeah, very close to it. Yeah, not too far from it.
And it was charged whenever you set it out?
Yeah, when I put my meter on it, it was like 13 something volts. I can't remember the exact point on it.
Yeah.
It was 13 something, which means it's fully charged. The second go around was with our other camera. What's the name of that camera? I can't remember the name. It's a regular video camera that you put on a stand. So I didn't have her phone that day. There was a point in it where it acted up for a minute. I don't know if y'all remember on that second, using that different camera, it acted up. I went and measured the battery, and the battery had went from 13 something down to 7. So the battery didn't get completely drained, but it went from 13 volts to 7 volts. But this is a marine battery, so it shouldn't drain real easy, without something draining it.
Yeah.
Now the next time it went down to 2. Then of course I put it back on charge. And that was with 2 different cameras. That was with her. Now I took my iPhone out there and done some video, and my iPhone never acted up. But that don't mean nothing, that just. But it, at first time with hers, just draining all of a sudden, and then the second time, with that other camera, all of a sudden just kind of acting weird. And then the few times we've set the recorder out there, it just turns itself off. I still ain't figured that deal out. Just full battery, and it just turns itself off. And it was inside a shooting blind. So you would have to open this blind up and go in there to turn that thing off. I mean, that's the only way you can do it, because we put it inside the blind where it kind of would be protected from the weather too. But it was right there at the opening where it could hear anything around. And because you could hear us when we would zip it or close it back, you could hear us doing all that.
Hear us walk away.
And hear us walk away. And several times that recorder just a few minutes later would shut off by itself.
This wasn't in extremely cold temperatures, right?
No. This is actually when we were still in warm weather.
Okay, well, let me interrupt just a second. Sorry. Rebecca, you probably know, because if you get feelings about things like that, anybody that knows anything about paranormal or ghost hunting or anything like that, they supposedly will draw energy from anything that's battery powered, or they actually can draw energy from fast moving water. Just
draw it from the atmosphere. That's what causes the temperature drop.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, that's something actually that me and Mark Newble had talked about, because I wondered about using an EMF detector or something to see if the energy changes.
That would be cool to test.
Well, incidentally, speaking of that, I meant to send Mark my EMF detector this week, and I threw it in the truck to go by the post office, and I'm out here in the woods, and the one that's near me is about 5 miles away, and every time I've gone over that way, I've completely forgotten about it. But I will get that out this week, because I was telling him that it would be interesting to see that meter will actually record when the spike happens. So it would be interesting to see if that coincides with the battery drainage, the battery dropping, or some kind of mess up in a recorder or something like that, But yeah, we're trying to look into this. But
you'll go from full battery to drained, and then as long as it doesn't pull it completely away, your battery will jump back up once it leaves.
What were you saying, Rebecca?
I said I've seen that with paranormal.
I've seen it happen with cameras and recorders. I've seen both. I've seen action cameras and recorders go from fully charged all the way down to nothing. Now, the recorder, I know for a fact, I've seen it go down to where it had nothing, and then an hour later, turn it back on, and it's fully charged again, like the battery's all back there. Now, the cameras, once or twice, I've seen those go from fully charged down to nothing, and then they were just dead. So I don't know the answer to it. I do wonder if, for example, you said that you had paranormal investigators out there on that land, and they felt like there was something there at the hunt club. I do wonder if sometimes, is it possible that boogers are attracted to areas that have some kind of paranormal aspect going on, and then people are conflating the paranormal part of it with boogers? Could it be that boogers are just plain flesh and blood, and they're simply drawn to paranormal areas, and then you see weird, janky stuff go on, and you're like, oh, that's because of Bigfoot, because you're already thinking Bigfoot, Bigfoot's there, but maybe it's the paranormal aspect, because a lot of other people have Bigfoot encounters that sound remarkably flesh and blood. For example, if Bigfoot could do paranormal stuff, let's say they could jump into portals, or they could just cloak, disappear, right? if they could, why are they hiding behind trees? Why do they turn and leave the area when someone spots them? Why don't they just cloak? You know, if they have any kind of mind speak capability, why are they doing whoops and knocks and other vocalizations? I mean, audibly that we can record and we can look at it on a spectrograph and say that's not an indigenous animal in this area. That vocal signature doesn't match these things. It's a biological entity producing this audible sound that we're recording. And not just that we're recording it, but that we're getting similar recordings, you know, all across the country. So it makes you wonder, you know, are we hitting some kind of thing in the Bigfoot world, in the Bigfoot anomaly? Are we hitting some kind of thing that is a physical creature, but just has what we would consider paranormal aspects to it? I mean, maybe not all the way 100%. It's completely a paranormal thing. Maybe it's a physical thing that just has the ability to do other stuff. Or
we're all energy. Everything's energy. And I think they vibrate at a totally different energy than what we do. And I think that's one reason why it can affect the batteries and you know, all the equipment and stuff like that. The same way as the paranormal. They're not the same type of energy as what we are.
That's really good. We're getting ready to talk about barbecue, and you're all about everything is all energy. I want you to explain that to me when it comes to me messing up a brisket.
No, don't do it. Don't mess it up.
I try not to. They're too damn expensive to keep messing up.
Oh yeah. And you know, that's what a lot of people's talked about. If the paranormal's coming around the Bigfoot, what if there are spiritual beings coming around them or whatever it is, and we're picking up both at the same time? Right. I know where you're coming from, because I've heard a lot of people talk about that, and we've even discussed that. Even on our club when we had that ghost hunters come, there was a lady who asked. There's supposed to be some native, and you know, my wife experienced this, I didn't, and this might be where she, you know, of course she's built different than I am. She may be more inclined with the spirit world than I am, but they were actually speaking to Native Americans that used to live here. What was there? 4 of them? 4. In fact, the Native Americans that
I've slept since then.
That, you know, we're talking to them said that one of us in the group was kin to them. First of all, said, you know, there was family here. Never just say who. This lady asked how many Bigfoot were on the club, and he came back and said many. And so I think she asked, were they mean or hostile or something? And it said, no, these are not.
Remember, we separated.
Well, yeah, we were separated, but this is what they were telling us when we come back. It's kind of like the women went off, and the men stayed over here, and we were having stuff going on around us, but it seemed like they were having a lot more stuff going on around them. But you know, and we've seen the orbs up there. Jonathan Odom's got one that's rectangle floating around. First rectangle one I ever seen. It floated all around the lake in this rectangle. You can go to his YouTube page. It's a couple of years ago, but you could find where he was at the club, and this rectangle orb was just floating around the lake. And I used to hunt on an old plantation. We were seeing lights down there all the time. We'd been there and out coon hunting. There'd be lights floating around everywhere. This was way before Bigfoot, and you know, I didn't know what they were. In fact, one night, me and my buddy pulled pistols out on one of them because we thought somebody was coming through the woods with a flashlight at us, and we done drawed our pistols, and because we done spoke out 2 or 3 times, hey, you know, announce yourself, and they wouldn't, and It was like, oh boy, what we got going on here, and then that light just disappears like that. Nobody's there.
We have an area near us in North Carolina. I've been there a couple times now. One of my best friends, Anthony, he's been there a couple times. I think it's called the Brown Mountain Lights.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's there near the Linville Gorge, and I've seen videos. I haven't seen the lights in person, but I've seen videos of the supposed lights. And again, I think to myself, is it Bigfoot? Is it aliens? Is it something paranormal? Because it happens too often with too many people talking about it for it to be, just a cosmetic effect on the photo, or a glitch on the camera screen or whatnot. But again, it goes back to, and another point I would make is going back to how I kind of started this. Is it that boogers have a paranormal aspect or not? And is it that maybe they do, and maybe some of us are just not sensitive enough to pick up on the really strange stuff, and some people are? Is it them? Is it us? I mean,
well, I'm going to make this point back to what you were saying before. Some people are empathic. Some people I have heard can do mind speak with each other. It's a part of your brain or something like that, but not everybody can. So why do they use tree knocks and stuff? Because not all of them can mind speak. It might be a gift that some have and not others. And it might be that they have to be in a close range to do it. So that tree knock and scream is distance. So I think that they may be, it's not really maybe a paranormal aspect to Bigfoot so much as they're like us in that they have gifts and things that develop in some and not others. So
you think that possibly some of them are more sensitive and less sensitive?
Yeah. And why do they peek out from trees? To play with us. And why not use the portal? Well, that's going to do the energy drain that they probably don't want you to immediately sense.
Yes,
the portal thing, I don't know if it's true or not, the portal thing, but just answering your question, I think the portal thing may have got accidentally seen. If that's a real thing, I don't know.
Or maybe they just got all of that energy from your phone or your camera, and they didn't get enough because you got a Samsung instead of an iPhone. It wasn't quite enough, and they couldn't evaporate right then,
right?
Because your phone was only 50% charged instead of 100. Who the hell knows?
Who knows?
We don't. We're just still scratching the surface on this. Of course, by no means I ain't no expert, but what little bit I've experienced, over the years, there's something weird to them. Just can't pinpoint.
Well, if you listen to, I listen to a multitude of different types of shows. Now I don't always get on them every week or every other week because I don't always have the time, but you and I both know Chris Reinhardt, and I mean, some of the rabbit holes that he has started to go down, I know Chris. I know he's a good guy. If he tells me something, I know he's telling me something honest from his point of view, but I haven't experienced it. So it's hard for me to understand a lot of these things. And again, I would caution anybody on ruling all of this stuff out. Before I got into the Bigfoot thing, I never gave two thoughts about Bigfoot. I didn't think about it. I spent a lot of time in the woods doing primitive camping, bushcraft stuff, survival training, stealth and evasion exercises. Bigfoot never crossed my mind, And then you start seeing some of this stuff and you go out looking for it, and sure enough, you start finding it. And then you meet people in this field that you talk to. I mean, now don't get me wrong, there are some people in this field that I think are a little bit out there. But I mean, I've met so many people and talked to them face to face, and they are legitimate, honest, salt of the earth, straight shooting people. And whenever they start to tell you some of this stuff, I mean, you got to consider that, you don't know everything about this subject. Maybe we don't know all of the stuff involved with physics and how the world works. And maybe there is more to it than just what we think, on a day-to-day basis. And I think you got to allow more room than just the flesh and blood is all I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to understand it, but it's hard for someone like me to really contextualize it and understand it. But I'm trying. I'm open-minded.
Open about it though, Spencer. You're never going to get anywhere as far as finding out if there is something different, because you don't want to hear it. You don't want to believe that there's a possibility that it could be tied to supernatural, or that everything could be tied in together. And I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that if you don't open your mind up to at least trying to the possibility that there could be something else other than just it being flesh and blood, how will you ever know?
I agree. Don't you start on me though. I'll mute your microphone. I will mute your ass.
Well, like I'm telling people, everything's on the table now. That's the best way to say it. It's like a card game. Every card's on the table, and every card means something. And some might mean more than others, but it's just, and I believe we're just scratching the surface right now. I believe there's some people hitting on some good things. I think there's people.
Oh yeah.
But I think we're still just scratching the surface, and it's hard to say what's going to come out. I think if all of us would work together, though,
yes,
and get away from these whatever people get ego trips or whatever people get into,
throwing each other under the bus.
Throwing people under the bus or whatever. I think if we really opened our minds and really communicated with each other, that we would get along. Like we'd get further out. I know we can't tell where each other's research place is, because you might have, I hate to say it this way, a nut job show up there and stir up everything.
Well, we can share the research.
But we can share the research, what's going on, and things that we're finding, and and start putting that stuff together. And it's like I've been asking everybody about vibrations. Yeah. I know I get some looks when I say, have you experienced a vibration during an encounter or a sighting, or because I started noticing it. And I mean, this is a vibration that you feel through the ground.
Did you start noticing it yourself, or did you notice it in reports?
I started noticing it myself, but then also I started hearing other people talking about it, that I didn't bring it up to them. Now, I did ask a couple of people on some other live chats, when they had their encounter, did they feel a vibration? And most of them has said yes. And I was like, what's the deal here? I know infrasound is kind of a vibration. I know they're in a frequency, but it makes you wonder, what's the vibration? What's causing it? Why is it coming in with an activity or an encounter? And I need to go back to people I interviewed years ago on their sightings and encounters. The ones that I know that I could probably still get back a hold of, and ask them, did they notice? Because that's something I never asked. And if they didn't bring it up, I wouldn't have thought about asking, hey, was there a vibration going on? Or did something feel different in the air, like, some kind of electricity going on or something? That was something that I wasn't trained to ask back then. I had what Mr. Towle told me to look for, but that wasn't in it. But all of a sudden, I'm hearing this, and I'm going out. There's something to it, but I can't put my finger down on it yet. But it may never will. But I think that's something we as researchers need to ask when we have people tell encounters to us or their sightings. We need to ask, was there a vibration present? Did you feel something? And, some have said no, they didn't feel that. But the majority of people I have asked has said yes. And I'm going, Well,
that may be something. I am predominantly a flesh and blood guy predominantly. But whenever you were talking to me about that, that's the one time I literally felt. Now, I didn't feel vibrations that I remember, but I felt almost a static electric force, like a light switch being cut off and cut on whenever whatever it was got close to us. It was like someone turned a switch on. The bugs got quiet, the animals got quiet. You could feel a hum in the air like static electricity. All the stuff happened. Whenever it went away, it's like something turned the switch back on and all the normal stuff came back. So again, I'm open-minded on it, and I think those are questions we need to start asking. You know, we've only just now gotten comfortable kind of talking to people about saying, yeah, I believe in Bigfoot. I believe it's possible and stuff like that. We've only just now turned the corner on that, because 20 years ago, you wouldn't say anything about Bigfoot because everybody would think that you were a nut. And then all these shows, you know, they've kind of expanded people's minds, their concepts and everything. So it's become a little bit more acceptable. And now we need to, I mean, I think as people that are looking into this, I think it's, you know, part of the thing that we have to do. We have to kind of cross that Rubicon and start asking stuff like, do you think there's something supernatural to this? Do you think there's something on an energy level to this? Do you think, you know, there are vibrational stuff, there's infrasound, there's paranormal? And we don't have to put it out there in a way where it's like, hey, I completely think that they're paranormal. But we need to start asking these questions. I think it's part of the due diligence if we're looking into this kind of stuff.
Yeah. We got to be open-minded to all of this.
Yeah.
We got to be open-minded. And right now, our world is going through a change. I mean, we've seen it in the last going on 3 years now, what's been happening just in our world, how people are acting, but even our weather is acting different. Even our soil is even acting different. There's a vibe or something. There's something, a veil has been dropped, or I don't know. It's hard to explain. And I hope everybody knows what I'm kind of meaning. It's there's a lot of change have went on in the last 3 years in this world. Things that we probably dreamed we'd never really see take place. And it seems like I don't know if you want to call them cryptids and humanoids, whatever these things are, but
Nobody knows.
it seems like it's escalated. It seemed like, and now I don't know if it's because people have brought it on more through technology, talking about it more, or is it really escalating too? You know, that's like the dog man thing 3 or 4 years ago. I'd heard people talk about dog man. You know, went on, didn't pay it no attention. I'm starting to pay a little attention now.
No. We ain't gonna start talking. No. No.
I mean, I don't know. You know, so I mean, you know, way back on, I wouldn't even thought about paranormal, but now I'm kind of like, well, there's something going on here. You know, it just, I mean, it's just, I don't know, you know, but it's definitely after 2007 reality hit, you know, that there's more on this earth than we know what's here, and flesh or blood, or if it's paranormal, spiritual, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know. But a lot has happened since 1940s in this country. I mean, you look from the technology we had at World War II to what we have now. I mean, this has escalated in the last 80 years, So there's no telling what we're going to see.
And tremendously so in the past 20, 30 years. But so let me ask you a couple wind down questions. Y'all are in Alabama. You don't really like Alabama white sauce, do you?
I ain't too particularly fan
Georgia
of it.
girl.
Yeah. Well, she's a Georgia-mite now. You have to remember she's from Georgia. So
that's okay.
Half the kin folks are in Alabama.
But Georgia don't make good barbecue. The sauce is good, but the barbecue ain't.
What's your favorite?
Georgia. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, carry on.
We went to 3 different places in Georgia. Hey, people, hey, man, this is the best barbecue in the world. We go over and that's
nastiest stuff
I was
ever.
like, what is this?
It's like, have y'all ever gone to the grocery store and got the little plastic tub of barbecue with the sauce mixed in it?
I hate that stuff.
No,
it's what they serve.
I'm from North Carolina. We don't do that. See, we can lay claim to having decent barbecue. So we don't do that.
I don't know about that.
Well, yeah.
North Carolina's got some good barbecue. Tennessee does too in places too. But now Alabama has got some good barbecue.
I won't touch it.
Do what now?
I said when JR brings it home from the store, I won't touch it. I don't like it. It is gross.
Yeah.
It's got to be good, and it's got to be fresh, and it's got to be hot.
I find that fascinating, Misty. You eat bear. I mean, somebody that will eat bear is damn anything.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I do. Yep. I've had bear. And that's not a mistake I'm going to make the third or fourth time. First couple times, it's kind of like the Bigfoot thing. First couple times I was open-minded. I ain't doing that again. There's something wrong with y'all.
Now, we were discussing earlier about people eating bear meat and giving them bad dreams and stuff. So maybe somebody in the chat will pick that up.
Yes. Yeah. I've never heard that before.
I'll have to ask them boys from West Virginia that I work with.
And that may be that gift we were talking about earlier, that it just affects some of them.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
I'll ask them, though. I'll ask them. Because I remember one of them talking about one time they ate some bear meat or something. It would give them bad dreams. And I'm like, what? And they was talking about, it'll give you bad dreams. And now, of course, in West Virginia, bear may be getting into something. I don't know.
No, I live in southwestern Virginia now, and I know a lot of West Virginia people, but a lot of people online, they confuse it whenever I say that, and they go, did he say he's from West Virginia? And those are fighting words around here. But I can believe that bear in West Virginia ain't doing the normal bear thing. I can believe that. Donna West said, dude, bear meat is good. No, Donna. No, it's not. No.
I ate it one time. It was real good. It kind of, I can tell it has a lot of fat in it. It's a fatty meat.
I've never had it.
It was pretty good. But now, you talking to the guy that ate chitlins, turtle, eel,
No chitlins.
This conversation has taken a dramatic turn for the worst.
No chitlins. There is no way you can sanitize a chitlin enough to make me eat it.
Oh yeah, you can boil it to death. I used to love my aunt. One of my aunts, boy, she had that down pat.
Watch the computer.
She would clean them and she would fry them up good. And then we would get Golden Eagle table syrup, which is, y'all probably seen Golden Eagle. It's made here in Alabama. But you talking about you could just take them chitlin and run it through that syrup, boy. You talking about good. And
if I wanted something fried, dipped in syrup, I'd make a pancake and fry it.
Yes, those banana pancakes.
Minus
the banana waffle things.
Oh, they good. They good. It's not too many people can cook them like they used to. But I used to love them. The bad thing about it, you will have rough breath for the next few days. Even too.
All I know is
mouthwash, toothpaste won't cut it. The next few days, ain't nobody gonna want to talk to you much.
All I know is I'm gonna question everything you say about boogers now, since you come out saying, "Oh, I'll eat chitlins and they're good." Your whole credibility is in question now, brother.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I can't help it. I was raised with a bunch of country folks. I even pulled up at one's house one time. They had a possum in the oven, and woo!
Was it your aunt that was cooking the squirrel with the eyeballs floating in the
Yeah,
pot?
my grandma used to cook squirrel heads. She loved them.
With the eyeballs floating in
My
the
sister
pot.
said she went down there. This was when my sister was little, and she's 11 years older than me. And she said it smelled so good when she walked in my grandma's house, whatever was cooking. And so she went to the oven and lifted the pot off, and there was squirrel heads floating. And she but our ancestors, they didn't think nothing about that, because they came up in those times where they ate everything. They didn't waste nothing. And
Mark, our ancestors probably hung out and traded with Bigfoot too, but we don't do it nowadays. You got to draw a line somewhere, buddy.
I draw it with chitlins.
Yeah.
Well, I wish
I'm with you. That guy ain't doing
when
it.
you come down, I might have to get us some.
No, you ain't.
Right.
No,
You mean
sir,
you
I'm
wouldn't
good.
No.
You wouldn't try one?
No.
No, sir. I've smelled them cooking. I've been to cookouts where people had them cooking, and just smelling them and me going, "What was that?" And they told me, "Nah, that's enough for me." Nah.
Yep. I've never even smelled them cooking. I don't have to. Just
You don't want to.
Just knowing what it is enough for me.
I can't stand to smell liver cooking.
Oh no, I don't eat liver either.
Now, I can eat liver. I ain't saying it's my favorite thing,
But
but
you
I
don't like bear meat. You'll eat liver, but
I don't like bear meat. No, it's nasty. I don't know why you kill those damn things. It's now I got them all over the place. I mean, I could pop one at any point, but do I go outside and go, look at that giant thing running through the woods covered in hair and fat, and that looks like something I want to eat? No.
Hey, that sounds like a deer.
Do they?
Are they
Virginia?
giant and fat?
and bear burgers and jerky. And
Here she goes. Here
Yeah, I
she
can hang
goes.
out with her now.
Here she
I can
goes.
hang out with her. We'd eat good.
Y'all can do
We
it.
already eat good anyway.
you got bear.
I've seen what Misty eats, and trust me,
We ain't talking about taco salad.
I'll talk about it. You don't have to, but I've seen what she eats and the way she eats it. And anything that she thinks is good, I'm gonna take a strong look at before I put that in my
Taco
mouth.
salad.
Taco salad.
Taco salad whenever we went and ate it.
No.
Plates to contain it.
I thought you had already named my most famous recipe. All my friends in Georgia, I am famous for hot dog salad.
Really?
That's what I thought you said, hot dog salad. I was like, somebody else.
I'm gonna have to change the name of the damn show. It's not gonna be Bigfoot, Bushcraft, and Barbecue. We're gonna have to leave off the food part because y'all are going down different. I thought the whole
So now it's going to be Bigfoot. What was it?
Bushcraft.
Bushcraft and bullcrap.
Yeah.
Hey, we might
Something
could carry some
like
chitlins on a Bigfoot out, and I
No.
bet you they'd come in.
Oh my gosh, it is
You
so
get that
time.
smell in the woods, I bet
It is
they'd come check
How
that
about
out.
we use bacon? How about we use bacon?
Well, we can do that
Bacon's
too.
good.
Bacon's good.
Yeah. Bacon's good. Might bring the boogers in. Everybody will be happy with it. We put chitlins out there. Everybody's gonna leave. Won't be nobody standing around to find the damn Bigfoot.
I'll be going to find a
Well,
hot dog.
I would. I'd stay with them. They come up and help me eat them.
I'll go find a hot dog.
I'll get them some hot sauce for it. And we'll chow down. Now, I was raised with people that, that was a big thing. We'd have a chitlin supper once a year at my aunt's house. And of course, the people who didn't eat chitlins, my, aunt would fry a crappie or brim for them. And then, then the rest of it, or hamburger, whatever somebody wanted. But the rest of us, mostly men, would sit there and eat the chitlins. Of course, I was the youngest of my grandfather's generation. So a lot of my cousins were already grown. So I was the only boy, there 12, 13 years old. And I guess these old men wanted to go ahead and break me in good. So, I'd have to sit with them and eat the chitlins and, turtle and the eels. We used to catch a lot of eels and out of the river.
I don't have a problem with turtle and eel.
It's actually good.
Chitlins.
It's good. Now, the only thing about turtle and eel, and she's ate it, so she can tell you, if it gets kind of cold, it seems like the more you chew on it, the bigger it gets or something in your mouth. You have to kind of eat it when it's kind of warm. I don't know why, but as you go to eating it, it just seems like it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't know.
I don't know what that means, and I stopped being able to concentrate on this conversation about 5 minutes ago.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to tear you up with the chitlins, man. Hey, we can get some mountain oysters and stuff.
Oh,
going.
no.
Oh, we go from bad to worse here.
No.
Hey, I got a buddy.
No.
I'll get some from him.
No.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
No.
I'm good. Well, and that ends this discussion on barbecue.
No, all kidding aside, we got some good barbecue in Alabama. When you get to come, if we have time, it's called Bob Stokes Barbecue. It's in Birmingham. He's won, I don't know how many awards for the last 60, 70 years for barbecue in Alabama.
Yeah.
And it's still
take him to Doug.
Doug, be a good one too. If you love ribs, there's a guy here that, man, he can do the ribs. But most of the barbecue in Alabama, I've been to a few places that I wasn't real happy with, but most of the time it's very good. It's just according how you like it. If you like it chopped or if you like it sliced, and it's according what kind of sauce they have. A lot of people make their own sauce. Some people don't, but got a good many people that's pretty good with barbecue.
I normally make my own sauce. You can always adjust it any which way, depending on what you're doing. And I've competed a couple times, nothing big, but enough to see that the barbecue circuit is, taste is subjective, and what one person likes, the other person is not necessarily going to like. And, a lot of that stuff is like, this restaurant won X amount of awards, and, 8 out of 10 people are going to love it, and 2 out of 10 people are going to be like, it's horrible. So it all depends on what you're used to and what flavor you're going for and everything.
You're right. I've been in North Carolina. I've had good barbecue. I'll never remember no bad barbecue in North Carolina. But Georgia, I don't know. It just, well, we did go to one place in Georgia up there at Cherry Log. It was real good.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I can't remember the name of it, but right there, not far from the Bigfoot Museum, there's a barbecue place. Now, that was very good. And it's one of them places that's been in business for
a long time,
50, 60, 70 years. So
if you ever driving up 575, it's got all the little pigs on the mountain behind the little place.
Yeah.
Decorative pigs.
Yeah, ain't that the tombstones for the pigs?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I thought. This whole hillside is like you look up there and you're like, why is there all these little pigs up there?
It's the tombstones.
It's the tombstones for the hogs. So
yeah.
It's a hillside full of them too.
I can't remember the name of it, and they have had some famous people come through there. From long ago.
Yeah, it's not that far. It's right there, not far from Cherry Log. I can't remember, 10 or 15 miles from
right
there.
On 575.
Yeah.
How many? Did you get any deer this year? Have you gotten anything?
That requires being in the woods.
Yes, ma'am. Me too. Same thing. I've been out there twice, but I've had a lot of jobs this year, and I ain't really had a chance. Misty, did y'all get any bear this year?
Our group, hold me to it, but I'm going to say, I think we got 24 or 26 this year.
Nice.
Did you
Yeah.
throw all that meat away?
Want to go bear hunting with him.
Of meat to eat. Some of us do eat it.
There's a lot of comments saying that it's good. So
It really
Yeah.
is. Depends
Yeah.
on fix it.
There's a lot of comments saying that boogers are supernatural too, but that's to each their own.
Well, that guy I hunted with in South Carolina that time, he cooked some bear meat that day when we got back from bear hunting. It was real good. I enjoyed it. I just noticed it had a lot of fat in it.
Grainy and
Yeah, you
grease.
got to trim all that out. All that.
Now see,
Not all of it, but most of it, because they are real fatty.
now
Yeah.
see, he just said it was good because it had a lot of fat in it, and you say it's not good with the fat in it, and you got to trim it off.
You got to take.
well,
some
he
off.
said it was good, but it was fatty.
Yes.
What
It was.
See, thank you, Rebecca. Listen, Spencer.
what kind of fat goes with it? When you make burgers, what do you use?
When I do the burgers, well, if I do the burgers, we trim them up really lean and grind bacon or like trimmed up fat off from steaks. I'll keep and use it to cut the fat in.
So you have to put the fat from another animal.
Don't have to. I said I do it just because I trim all the other off because I make
Different
if I
taste.
yes, if I make like a bacon bear burger or something, I just grind the bacon up in it instead of putting the bacon on top. So I use
So the bear is so bad by itself, you have to kill a whole other animal. You have to kill a whole other animal and add it to it to make it palatable.
that's not what I said.
Yes, that
The
is.
bacon goes with everything.
That's right.
Don't take her side, Rebecca.
We women got to stick together.
Well, I'll tell you, if we ever have a meetup somewhere or something, she's gonna have to bring some bear meat. I'll eat it with her.
Yes.
Okay, well,
It-
Lord knows you will. You eat chitlins, so you'll dig into it.
Yeah. No chitlins.
I tell you, I would survive in a survival. It wouldn't bother me. I'd get tough and
You're
go
gonna
with
find
it.
something to eat, huh?
Huh?
He'd
You
learn
gotta
to like bear
find
meat then, wouldn't he?
You know, I'm gonna make sure I eat. You know, because I told her, I said, "What you gonna do if things get bad?" She said, "Well, I'll eat grass." I'm like, "Maybe grass ain't gonna give you much." You know, so,
It's better than them chitlins.
but
I don't know.
Out foraging in the yard, won't we?
If it was between grass and a bear'd look pretty good, but that'd be one of the only ways.
now she did just hit on something about foraging.
Huh?
There is a lot of edible food in your yard.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Or and most people, I'm gonna say people out in the country now, probably in town where they have these manicured lawns and all, they'd probably.
Lots of Roundup.
But people who, if you really go to looking around your place, there's all kind of edible food.
There's still dandelions, common plantain, one of the most readily available things that people cut down for weeds. You know, not only is it medicinal, but you can eat it. Now, it doesn't taste the greatest. Whenever we made survival stew with it, we would always add stuff like chicken bouillon if we had it, or hot sauce or something to flavor it. But yeah, there is a lot that people overlook, just like in an outdoor environment. You know, ferns. I mean,
Purple nettle.
Daylily blooms
yeah.
before they open.
Wild
Hosta. The hosta spears before the leaf opens.
My problem with the wild edibles is I can't remember it. I've seen it, you know, a bunch of times. I used to try to write it down and remember it, but you get to looking at the plants, unless you spend time actually learning the plant, like going out and finding it and learning it. Whenever you get out there in a real situation, you're looking for it, you pick it up and you're like, is this what I think it is? And then you don't want to take a chance on it. So it does take, you know, a good amount of dedication and some actually trying to learn it to get good at the stuff. Now, mushrooms, you know, I only learn, you know, the ones that are around here.
Right.
But I can learn mushrooms for whatever reason, just like I can learn a lot of medicinal herbs. But the wild edibles, for some reason, it just goes in one ear and out the other.
I wish I had learned what my uncle had when I was growing up, my dad's oldest brother, he's born like 1911, and he was a World War II POW, and when he come back from World War II, he just went to farming, hunting, fishing, trapping. That's all he ever done his whole life. And I used to go hang out with him a lot. And I remember walking through the woods. We'd be going over on the creek fishing, or we'd be going to check trout lines or something, or whatever we were doing. And he would point out stuff. He'd say, "Hey, this plant here, if you ever," he said, "you can eat that plant." And he'd point over here. So he said, "That one, do not touch that thing for nothing," And I wish I could remember everything he had showed me. Of course, I was at that age where I didn't pay attention as much as I should have. I mean, I paid some attention, but not like I should have. And,
That's just life, though. I mean, Lord knows how many things our parents or grandparents tried to tell us whenever we were little, and we wish we'd have paid more attention and learned more about it then,
Right.
Well, anyway, y'all.
Yeah.
Especially if you had to have it, you'd be grateful for it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, I mean, like right now, I'm trying to learn canning. My grandparents grew up canning everything. And now I'm in a situation where I can do it and need to know it. And I've got to ask other people about it. And I mean, it's just, it's stuff that was really common 50, 60 years ago. There ain't but a handful of people that you talk to on a day-to-day basis that knows anything about it nowadays. At least that's how it seems to me.
Everybody wants to do things the easy way anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The number of people buying electric canners is just, it just bothers me. All these people buying electric canners.
And Rebecca does quite a bit of stuff of canning on her channel, y'all, in case you're interested in that. So I've been watching a lot of that and learning from her. We're coming up on 2 hours now, believe it or not.
I've had a good time. I've enjoyed this.
Well, I get to run in my mouth and lose track of time. So
we're going to be talking on next week's show about how to rotisserie a coon, right? Hold on. On next week's show, show you how we do this on our bushcraft.
She's been waiting.
You smoking a cigar?
Hey, I'll let it go out.
Hey, you done got her started smoking cigars?
I have that effect on people.
He keeps having me do this.
Hey, now as long as she don't start dipping, she starts dipping.
Her husband may get on me after that.
Yeah.
This is
I used to have a cousin that was about 15, 16 years old. She'd hung out with us boys a lot. And of course, she was tomboyish too. And I don't mean nothing by that. She's just tomboyish. But she'd hunt and fish and do everything. And one day she said, "Can I have a dip of that?" I said, "Do what?" "I want to try it out." "Oh, yeah, sure." We was waiting on it to make her sick where we could get a good laugh out of it. Didn't bother her one bit, and darn her, she didn't start dipping, and I was like, well, I got one started. It shouldn't have, But she did quit later on, But
good for her.
It's just a bad habit,
Yeah.
Yeah, I got tickled when I looked. I said, she got a cigar in her mouth.
No, I was thinking of Spencer earlier. It's not even real. It's a little fake Halloween one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was to go with the barbecue and the possum.
Oh,
Trust me, that's better than other things I've seen falling out of her mouth. So
now you smoking those Cubans? Is that what you get?
no, I can't say that. I've had them before, but the price they are, I've smoked a lot of domestic, well, not domestic, but stuff from other countries, just different areas that grow the tobacco. The Cuban ones, they got that embargo, so you gotta be real sneaky about how you get them, and they cost you $25, $30 a piece. And honestly, they're not as good, in my opinion, as some of the ones from like the Dominican Republic or stuff like that. So I order the normal ones from online. They cost me way too much, but it's something I don't do it that often. I only smoke a cigar once or twice a week, sometimes 3 if it's nice weather outside. I like to do it while I have a drink and sitting around a campfire or whatnot. But
Yeah, it's good with a little shot of whiskey or something with it. It's
I prefer rum, but yeah, a little bit.
We'd have to get you a little bit of Alabama shine one day.
I don't need any of that. I'm in Franklin County now, where the whole moonshine thing started at, and we got people around here we can get the real deal stuff from. And I tell you, I've had it enough to know that don't mix too well with me.
You know, it'll make you stand up, won't it? Or fall down one.
Hit the ground.
Normally that way.
But now,
tell everybody your channel again and how they can find you, and we'll wrap this thing up, because they do need to go look at your channel, and people need to keep an open mind, and they need to, explore different areas of the whole Bigfoot thing. But people need to see your channel for more than that, also for all the farming tips and the canning and the cooking and everything. So, I mean, it's a great channel. Everybody, should at least subscribe to it. And I mean, click on the videos if it looks like something interesting to you. They're loaded with good stuff. They really are. And they've recently started selling cups and things, which I've got a couple of them, but I don't have one right here in front of me. Misty, that ain't one of their cups. Put it down.
I can't wait to check out the family. So hurry up and do what you're doing, because
that was not one of their cups. I'm talking about cups. You're showing that to everybody. They're going to be like, I want that one that Misty has.
So we made the channel as difficult as we could. Several people have already noticed Mark Green Plowboy has his own profile, but he does not put videos out. The videos go on my profile, which is Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead Life. We do homesteading videos on Tuesdays, and Friday fireside chats for Mark is on Fridays, like I said. So it's Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead Life.
And we're thinking about down the road maybe doing some lives. I don't know about Bigfoot. I mean, I may start doing some of that too, but I know we're going to probably do some lives like on farming. And I need to really help her more with some of the homesteading videos, give her a little more stuff. Like, when we got the little grist mill that I got to get started up. And so we'll probably when we do that, we'll probably try to do a live with the grist mill.
That would be cool.
Yeah, a little 1913 Meadows. Got 16-inch wheels, stones in it. So we'll probably fire it up and grind some corn, maybe some wheat. And there's a lot of things. We planted some sugar cane this year, and I'm probably going to plant some sorghum this spring. And so may get back into syrup making. I used to do a lot of that when I was growing up, and then I had a friend that done a lot of that. So we're going, besides our planting our fields, we're probably going to do some other things like that, and just.
Becca, have you ever tried to make flour from amaranth seeds?
You can do that, yes. And there's actually a wild amaranth that you don't even have to grow, a specific variety. You can just go out and get everybody calls it pigweed. That's an amaranth.
Tiny amaranth that grows all back behind the barn.
Mm-hmm. You can use it. It doesn't produce as fine of a quality seed head, basically, but it's just as usable as planting a new commercial hybrid variety.
And I don't know if you guys ever grow sunflowers, but we actually this year tried to make some flour from the sunflowers, and I made dog treats with it, and it actually turned out really good.
That's
anything that's a dry seed can turn it into flour.
Well, this was inside the stalk, the white, when you take it out or whatever.
Oh.
Dry it out and then
So
grind
the pith of the stalk?
Yes, that's the first time I'd ever heard it too. When right before you harvest them, the inside I'm trying to think of the name of the sunflowers, the mammoth
yes
flowers,
because they have the biggest stalk.
really big. take the white out of the inside of it, and it almost feels just like foam, or it's really strange. And let it dry out, and then grind it up, and try that for your flour.
Nice. I need to try that.
It was really good and made good dog treats.
We're going to try okra. We're going to try grinding okra and making flour out of it. Of course, any of your nut trees, acorns, all those, pecans, chestnuts, which, our ancestors, even y'all up there in Tennessee and down here in Alabama and up there, they utilized that American chestnut tree when it was growing.
Yeah.
And they made flour. That's where a lot of them made their flour from. They wasn't really going buying flour in town. They was taking those chestnuts. And when they dried them, they'd grind them. And that's what they would be eating a lot of their, coating their stuff with would be from that. So there's all kind of stuff that you can make flour out of. It's pretty neat. So me and her's going to do some experiments too, with the okra seed and some other things. We're going to try it out and see what happens.
And the amaranth.
Definitely post the results, because I'm telling you, I'm so interested. I can't wait to check out the channel. I mean, this is stuff that I do too. So I love it.
The only thing I got from all that was that you tried dog treats.
No, I did not try dog treats.
She made dog treats.
Make them and tried them.
I wonder if you could do that with goldenrod.
I haven't seen a seed enough to do
Well,
it
that's
with.
true. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Now, goldenrod, make a tea out of it to really help your sinuses and congestion.
That's what I've heard.
Yep.
And especially your kidneys.
It really works. It really works. So
That's what I've heard. I've never made the tea out of it. I've done dandelion. I've grown my own chamomile and made tea out of that. And I've had pine needle tea and cedar tea, but never had the goldenrod.
Corn silk tea also.
Really? I've never even heard of that.
I heard about it recently. I had never thought anything about doing anything with the silk of corn, but yeah, when you take the silk off your corn, keep it. Make tea from it.
I know the Orientals use the silk to cook. They cook the silk.
Now, if you let the silk dry out, if you let the silk dry out, it's just like the inside of a what do you call the plant with the big leaves that's got the fibers inside of it? Yucca. You can let it dry out, and then it makes a really good fire starter. You can even do the fire roll method with it. But never heard about.
Look up corn silk tea.
Huh.
I can't remember the benefits.
I hadn't
but
tried it, but I dried it for to use for crafts. But I do have some, so I'll try it.
Yeah.
Look, now she's eating craft material. She'll eat anything. She will. All right.
They'll have to come down and visit down with us sometime here in the next year. Come down. We'll do some eating and maybe be able to go up on Creepy Mountain or something. And
heck yeah, that sounds awesome.
She's going to shoot a bear.
I wish Alabama would have a bear season. They are not interested in doing that. Our conservation department just refuses to want to even go that way. I think they got their brains on deer and turkey and ducks, and they don't study. That's like our small game. They've kind of let it go. I don't understand that, but
probably somebody in the conservation department done decided that bear weren't worth having there because they ain't worth shooting and eating, and they said no need in bringing these things back in here.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. So.
I'd eat bear over deer any day, Spencer.
You'd eat a lot of things. We've already established that. All right. Let me give a shout out to all the people that actually were in chat. Oh, we got a celebrity. Larry Porch. Larry Porch is in the chat. Ain't that impressive? But no, hey, seriously, thank you to everybody that showed up to listen to us prattle on, and hopefully in the weeks to come, we'll have a little bit better format and everything. I won't talk as much. The guests will talk more, and I was worried actually that Misty wouldn't talk at all. And look, here we are discussing chitlins and bear and dog treats and everything, you name it. But seriously, everybody, thank you very much. If you would, please subscribe. If not, I won't take offense to it. And I'll see everybody again soon. And please check out Mark and Rebecca's channel. And Misty and them, you have a channel too, don't you, with your group? Well, do you have a YouTube channel, Misty?
We don't know. We're actually trying to get one going, but it's right now. It's just been so crazy this time of year that right now we've got our Facebook page, but she's wanting to get one started. It's just been crazy right now trying to do it.
Yeah. Well, they got a
Facebook. When you
Facebook.
do, we'll support you. So.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate it, and I tell you, I just want to say I've enjoyed talking to you guys. I mean, I was really worried about doing this, but this has been really fun.
Oh yeah, you done real good. You done good.
Thank you.
Well, everybody
Y'all
have.
Look forward to meeting you one day. Look forward to meeting you one day.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
say that, Mark. I've met her. You don't know what you're asking for. Thanks, everybody.
I like being around like-minded people. That helps, and it's easier to talk to people that when you got stuff common with them.
Yeah. And that's my point. We all have more in common than just the Bigfoot thing. And
Right.
we need to talk about other stuff, in my opinion.
No,
So
you didn't make me comfortable. I don't even like you. I said talking to them made me feel comfortable.
Hey, she's straightforward, buddy.
I have a large ego and I take credit for everything.
Hey, you can't beat it. She's straightforward. She don't pull no punches.
Ain't that the truth? I thought she was actually going to smack me upside the head a couple times.
If you were close vicinity, she probably would.
There ain't no doubt, Rebecca. Everybody have a good night. Don't take Bigfoot or yourself too seriously in anything, and we'll catch y'all next week or whatever. Everybody take care. Have a good night.
All right. We'll see y'all later. Enjoyed it.